I'm Mustang and I'm here at Canton Torswing.
And I'm Daisy, and today we're going to talk about how to build a debris shelter. So Mustang, what are some reasons that you might use a debris shelter?
Well, if you get lost and you can't find where you're going and it's getting cold because it's nighttime, you're going to have to spend some time outside, and the best is in a debris shelter.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about what supplies you might need and how to construct the shelter. So the first thing we need to do is find a site that we're going to build our shelter. So there's a few things that we want to consider when we're doing this. We want to find a place that we can set our ridgepole. And our ridgepole is going to be the frame of our shelter. And so you can use trees, you can use rocks, anything that's high, got a little height off the ground, so that you can set your pole on or into. We are going to use these trees right here. They've got this nice V that we can wedge our ridgepole right into. The next thing that we want to do is we want to look at the ground. We want to make sure there aren't too many roots or rocks or even plants. Make sure that it's something that we're going to, if we sit down or lay down, that we're going to be fairly comfortable. We also want to make sure that it's not a hole or a gully of any sort, because if it rains, water is going to collect in those places, and you want to make sure that you're going to stay nice and dry when you're in your shelter. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our ridgepole set into place. So we're going to take the ridgepole and we're going to put it right in the tree, and we're going to push down on it, make sure it's nice and secure, and that's going to be the frame for our debris shelter. So the next step, now that we have our ridgepole in place, is to build the frame. So to do that, we're going to use sticks. You're going to want to make sure that you collect your sticks before you get started. It'll just be a little easier, then you don't have to run around while you're building your shelter. So when we're going to construct the frame, we want to think about a couple of things. First of all, we want to think about which end we're going to put our head at and which end we're going to put our feet at. In this case, the bottom of this end of our shelter is quite low to the ground, so I'm going to put my feet out here away from the tree, and I'm going to put my head over here next to the tree, where it's a little bit taller and I won't be quite so claustrophobic once I'm inside. Keeping in mind that a debris shelter is to keep you out of the elements, so out of the rain and the wind, but also to keep you warm, so that you'll be comfortable during the night. Whether you have a sleeping bag or not, you can still make these nice and warm so that you're comfortable. And so you want to keep in mind that you lose the most heat, body heat, from your head and the upper part of your body. So when you're constructing this, you want to make sure that you put the door near where your feet are going to be. So in this case, because I just said we're going to have our head up by the tree, over by the tree, and our feet are going to be out away from the tree, I'm going to put my door on the side that I'm standing on, about right here, so that it's close down near my knees and my feet. So when we're doing this, we're going to pick up our sticks and we're going to put them on the ridgepole. You want to make sure they're fairly close together, because the next thing after the frame is done, we're going to be putting leaves on, and so if the holes are too big, then the leaves are going to fall right through. So we're going to find a good spot to put our sticks based on the length. We can also adjust the length a little bit. If they're too long, we can break some. So now Mustang and I are going to take a few minutes to finish constructing our frame. So now we have all of our sticks on, and we've made sure that they're close enough together that our leaves won't fall through when we go to start putting the leaves on. So we have a couple of things that we want to think about when we're starting to put leaves on. The first thing is we want to make sure that we cover our whole shelter with leaves. And that way that we won't get any rain or wind inside of our shelter, and it'll keep us nice and warm and dry. So One way to do that is as you're putting the leaves on your shelter, just kind of poke your head in to make sure that you can't see any daylight. If you can see daylight through your leaves, then that means that rain and wind and things can get in your shelter. Also, we want to make sure that we have enough leaves to keep us warm. So if you're building a shelter to sleep in the summertime, you're going to want to make sure that you put your tips of your fingers on your sticks, and you're going to want to make sure the leaves come up to your elbow. If you were building this shelter in the colder months, either before or after we have snow on the ground, then you would want to make sure your leaves were as thick as from your fingertips up to your shoulder. And that extra will keep you warmer in the colder weather. So now we're going to get started and start putting some leaves on our shelter. So now our debris shelter is complete. We have all of our leaves on. We've gone on inside and checked to make sure that there weren't too many holes, and we've patched all of those up so we can't see any daylight coming in. And now it's time for us to climb into our shelter and stay warm and dry for the night.